Having understood what chastity is about, or getting a glimpse of what chastity is all about, and knowing that dating is good and healthy, whom should I date? And how should I go about dating? Let's find out. In the previous episodes of this series, we spoke about chastity, we spoke about dating. Should one date? When should one date? And what would be a series of progression of relationships or a series of development to get into a relationship. Today, we'll address the questions of whom should one date and how should one go about dating. When we ask the question, whom should one date? A simple answer is, date someone who is compatible with you. Now, when we look for compatibility, ideal for dating and marriage, we look at someone who matches our wavelength. But the etymology of this word is quite surprising. Compatibility comes from the Latin word compati, which basically means to suffer with. Yes, it is very easy to enjoy the joys and strong points of the others. But what about their weaknesses? Can we really suffer with them? Do we find joy in suffering in their low moments? And when we talk about this, a wonderful joke comes to my mind. I remember hearing this when I was a little boy. It goes this way. Love is a walk in the park. Oh, it's so nice. You walk hand in hand, whisper sweet nothings, sing around, dance around trees. But dating and marriage only makes us realize that it's not an ordinary park, but it's Jurassic Park. Yeah. So that's how it would be if we are not ready to suffer with the person, suffer with our partner, the one whom we want to live our lives with. Relationships are going to be really difficult. And hence, when we are looking out for someone whom we are dating, we don't need to look at only the mere externals, but we need to look at the person as a whole. So when we ask the question, whom should we date? It should not be more an external question, but it should be more an internal question. Am I ready to be the person who the other one would like to date? Can I become that person who is dateable? Can I become the one or the person the other one deserves? A beautiful analogy of this is such. We know the Bible verse that says, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will be added. So it's like this. We need to look at God and need to run to Him. And when we are running to Him, we are reaching Him, we look around and see who else is running with us. And there we see, that person running there, probably that's the one who I'd like to date. Probably that person there is the one for me. Let me figure out who it is. We are all running together towards Jesus. If that's not happening, it would be a little more difficult. And that's where seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness and everything else will be added makes so much sense in this scenario. So that's why it's so important not to date a project. We have an idea of a person, an idea of my ideal spouse. He'll have these qualities, or she'll have these qualities. No, it's a project. We date human beings. We don't date fragments of our imagination. And that's where things go really wrong. So we need to look at dating as not a solution to all our problems, but a place or a platform where our problems will surface and we can deal with them really well. So, dating etiquette, very critical. It requires a lot of courage to ask another person out on a date. It's very important that we make our intentions clear. Many a times we just say, I'd like to just hang around with you, like to just spend some time. It doesn't give clear signals. It would be really nice if we can muster up the courage and say clearly, I'd like to call you out on a date. It asks for a lot of courage because we put ourselves in a place of vulnerability. What if I'm rejected? What if things don't work out? I'm going to make a fool of myself. Yes, it feels like you're vulnerable, but it's so much better that we know for sure whether things are working out or not, rather than just living in a fairy tale world of possibilities and hurting ourselves so much more. Responding to a date. It's very important that we respond in a positive. Okay, I wouldn't say, just say yes to every single date that comes by. But remember that it takes a lot of courage for one to come and ask out on a date. If you are not sure, if you do not know whether you like this person or not, go for a date. It will be harmless. But if you fear your life, please say no. Doesn't make sense putting yourself on the line or risking yourself. Say yes for dates. You come to know, you learn through every single experience. And a date is harmless. It's just a meeting and an expression of a possibility. It's not like this is the person you're supposed to get married to. So it's fine. You can just go around and test the waters. It's also very important at this point of time, in case you are already dating, you're already in a committed relationship, or you have kept yourself aside for a priestly vocation or religious life, to politely refuse, stating good reasons. Not just saying, oh, you're a very nice boy, you'll find someone else, oh, you're a very good girl, you'll find someone better. And that pitying is not good. It was bro zoning and friend zoning, not so cool. State your intentions, admire and appreciate the courage of the person, and move on. It's very important that we do that and make things very clear rather than letting them just linger around. After the date, it's a little awkward at times because it is like you don't know how the date has gone. But muster up the courage to give your view of how the date went. Whether you had a good time, whether you're looking out for another date, whether you're looking forward to meeting this person again, or just plain and simple saying, you know what, we had a decent time, we had a great time, but I don't see ourselves in the future spending our life together. So probably we move on. So we figure out ways in which we can communicate our heart and our intention and not keep people hanging. Finally, what do we do at a date? We know that physical intimacy is a no, and there is no two ways about it. We do not go all the way as the movies show that every date ends in making out and spending the night over, etc. Not safe, not moral, not as per the teachings of the church. We stay away from these practices because we want to save that for marriage, and we've spoken about that in chastity already. So when you go on a date, get to know the person. Find out the worldview of the person, what this person likes, what this person wants. You're going to spend your whole life with that person. Try to know the person, their likes, their dislikes. See how they treat the other people, treat people of the same sex, of the opposite sex, people superior to them, people lower to them in economic strata, etc. Find out what their future plans are. No point in dating a person who's probably going to migrate and you have no intentions of migrating to another country. Don't try to change the person, that's not going to work out. So we look at these very practically, and that's why love should not just be a feeling, but it must be governed by reason and intellect. It should be an act of the mind as well. What not to do on a date? Please don't ask on your first date how many babies you plan to have. That's so uncalled for. So these are a few things that we should not do at dates. One, very, very important, not just about the babies. Don't go on a date under the influence of drugs or alcohol or any substance that has given you a high. You won't be yourself and you do not know what you may say and what you may do. Avoid getting physical. Arousal is not necessary at a date. You just need to know the person intimately and let this love develop organically and find fulfillment after marriage. Don't go in for too expensive a place, because what happens is, it's not about, I wouldn't want to say how you should spend your money, but guys, especially if you take a girl out on a date to an expensive place and you pay the bill, don't allow her to share in it. It leaves the girl with a thought, this guy is going to expect some sort of a repayment through a physical touch or a physical gesture or something of that sort. So let's keep things simple and plain and not allow ourselves to indulge and make things awkward for the other. And there's so much more that we can speak about in dating and etiquette. We can explore, think about it, plan out the whole thing and see how things work out, and you will know better. Finally, it's important to the process of dating that we find our soulmate without losing our soul. And that's why not just the church, but all religions, all governments, all traditions teach about chastity. The conjugal act is limited only in the confines of marriage, because through marriage we pledge not just our body, not just our mind, but also our spirit, our entire being to the person. There is a security that's attached in marriage which otherwise is missing, and that's where we can give ourselves entirely. And finally, What's the whole point of this series and the idea of dating and chastity? It speaks about dying to ourselves. But dying to ourselves is really worth it, because finally when we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 55, "O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting?" When we reach that final day when we are going to marry our spouse, we know that we've lived a chaste life. We know that the spouse whom we have waited for has lived a chaste life. And probably the others whom we've dated in the past, we have upheld the dignity of the person. We have not used that person, we have not abused that person for our own gratification, but have upheld the virtues of chastity and purity. And today, and on this day, presenting ourselves to each other as holy individuals in the image and likeness of God, giving each other in total abundance without holding back. And if we are also on our way to a priestly ordination or a life in religious service, in a religious life, we know that we've lived as per the teachings of the church. And in case we have the misfortune of falling, we must not cease to call upon the Lord for His mercy and grace to revive us and be whole and complete. So that's for our series on dating and chastity. If you have any questions, drop them down in our comment section. We will take up these questions and probably make another episode dealing with each of these questions on a one-to-one basis. Thank you for watching this series. God bless you and have a great life. If you like the content we've posted on this channel, do like our videos, share us with your friends, and subscribe to our channel.